the submersible drove to the kingdom of Triton, Lord of the Sea. And immediately the entire group, Rodger, Sky, Timothy, and Zuma, were all dazzled by the sight of it. The whole palace was made out of emeralds that shined like twinkling stars, and they were beautiful colors of pink and blue and orange and red. And they soon drove up to it and came to the great gate. Now this gate was as large as a really big hill, and it had all these inscriptions on it of all the things that had happened in the sea, from the rise of the sea titans and the king of the ocean and how he inherited the role of it from an older being, and even pictures of the man in black, gray, and white, and the battles that had been forged between the three of them. And soon they drove up to a great mermaid guard, and he was quite tall. He was about as tall as a small tree, I suppose. And he was standing there, and he said, "Halt there! What are you, some strange sort of fish with a body of metal and shining bright lights out of it? What a strange creature you are. I've seen some translucent fish too, but normally not on the front of the head." And Rodger spoke up. "We wish to see the King of the Mermaids, Triton. We're here to be entertainment for him." "Entertainment?" said the guard. "Well, what kind of thing can you perform, strange fish?" And this is when Timothy jumped up, for he was quite good at entertainment, and said, "Well, I can do a dance." "A dance?" said the guard of the mermaids, and he looked down. "Oh, yes, you're one of those turtle dancers. They're performing for King Triton right now. Well, why don't you do a little jig for me? I'm rather bored and could be of use for entertainment." And so Timothy began to do a little tap dance routine, and the guard watched in awe, and when Timothy finished with a little hoo, and stopped, the guard said, "Oh, that's very good, very good. Ah, what a strange creature you are, with a dog, another dog, a cat, and a turtle in you. But come on in, come on in." And so the gates were opened, and the group soon were driving into a palace unlike any they'd ever seen before, with all the great beams, and in the hallway displayed the statues of King Triton, the man in black, gray, and white, some other beings, nothingness, death. And eventually they came to the main hall, where King Triton was sitting, and beside him were seated his daughters, including Ariel. And they drove up to King Triton, and Rodger spoke through the speakers. "All right, King Triton, we have something to ask of you. Where is Timothy's mother?" And King Triton said, "Timothy? Yes, I know that name. He was born on a beach, wasn't he? Yes, must have been one of the survivors. 2 out of that family, actually. Well, I don't know about where his mother is, but I believe she must be somewhere up amongst the turtle dancers. They come here, and most of them belong to those beaches." And Timothy looked up, and sure enough, he could see his mother swimming around in circles for King Triton. And Timothy said, "Please, get me out of this submersible, Zuma." Zuma said, "Sure thing." And Timothy was let out, and he started swimming up to his mother, and he yelled, "Mother, mother!" And I think it is a rather instinct of turtles, because he recognized his mother at once, the one that had put him on that beach all those years ago. And he swam up to her, and he said, "Mother, mother, please, do you remember me? Do you remember?" But his mother didn't respond, and she just kept swimming, her eyes looking cloudy. And Timothy looked down at King Triton and said, "What did you do to her?" King Triton said, I have a spell on all the creatures of the sea, so that they do exactly what they are supposed to and don't break any of the rules set down for me by the man in black." And Rodger said, "Will you take that spell off her at once?" "Nonsense," said King Triton. "This is the way it has been, and this is the way it always will be. Turtles leave their eggs behind, and Very few of them make it, but some of them do. And those that do, go back home to their place and get to do the same thing over and over again. And Timothy said, "But my mother's in some sort of a trance or something. Can she even feel anything? Any emotion? Can she remember me?" Keen tried and said, "Oh, it's not necessary. Creatures of the sea don't need to feel anything for each other. Why, it's absolute nonsense." And Rodger said, "Well, I think you're the one speaking nonsense, Keen Triton. You wouldn't let a mother and a child feel love for each other because that's the way it is and that's the way it should be? Well, there's a lot of things that should be in the way they are, but come now, every creature in this universe should feel love for each other." Keen Triton said, No, it could break the whole foundation of nature. Turtles are not meant to feel love for one another, and that's just the way it is." Now Ariel came up to her father and said, "Oh, father, those are very old rules, and a world without love, why, it's horrible. What if I didn't love you or you didn't love me?" "Well, that's different," said Keen Triton. "I am a mermaid, that's just a turtle." And Timothy was very angry now, and he came down and said, "Please, listen here. Now, everything in this world might have to work in a certain way and all that, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's that no creature should be deprived of love. Why, maybe it would cause everything to fall apart, but I think that's a risk worth taking. Because love is the most beautiful thing in the world, and if what you say is true, all these turtles are being left on these beaches and they're going to die soon, and that only a few survive, maybe one or two, well, then, if this is the end, we should be allowed to feel love for each other. It's the most beautiful feeling in the world. It should be more important than the man in black or the man in gray or the man in white. And there's nothing that would make me feel happier than to see my mother love me. I've gone so far." And Keen Triton looked at his daughter, and he began to think to himself, what if he couldn't feel any love for his daughter if she couldn't feel any love for him? And finally he sighed and said, "Oh, I suppose there's old rules, and I might get in trouble, but maybe I could break them, just this once." And with that he raised his trident in the air, and all at once all the turtles began coming down, and Timothy, his mother came right up to him and said, "Oh, Timothy, it's like I have been awoken from a spell of the way things should be, and now I am in the world that is. Oh, Timothy." And she hugged her son tightly, and Rodger looked rather proud of himself that he was able to convince the Sea Keen to break the spell, and Keen Triton said, "Oh, I'll probably be hearing about this, but sometimes I suppose you do have to break the rules for the ones you love." And he smiled to himself, and Ariel gave him a little kiss on the forehead and said, "Oh, you pretend to be grumpy, but I know that deep down there's a lot of good in you." And Sky looked over at Rodger and said, "Huh, well, that reminds me of somebody I know." And Rodger could only gruffly smirk. But anyways, soon enough, they were sailing back towards the island, and they returned to their friend Trevor the Hare with all of his friends, and they welcomed them back with open arms, and they all had a big party celebrating Timothy's new home and his happiness. And Rodger said, "Well, I think that was a very good adventure, but the two of us will soon have to set sail." And all the rabbits gathered around in the main hall all began to complain about this, Trevor especially. "Oh, you can't leave, you can't. Well, we're good friends now. Well, we could hang out together for the rest of all time." And Rodger said, No. Adventure is calling. Sky and I have to set sail." And Sky said, "Yes, indeed, but we will always remember this adventure. And in fact," and she pulled out a notebook, one that she had found amongst Trevor's belongings, "I think I'm going to write about all of these adventures, and I'm going to put them down, and this one will be a very special one in the book." And Trevor said a smile. "Oh, all right. Well, you two have fun, and Go find a great adventure for me, will you?" And they all had a good laugh, and they danced and played and had a great time as they stared up into the stars and realized that a world without each other would be quite a horrible place.